Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today on the program. We're going to talk about this new news out of the Trump administration and what they're doing to curb the H-1B epidemic, all the abuse. Now they're going to try to get around a previous court ruling to where they're going to charge companies over $100,000 per applicant for H-1B. This is obviously a win. Now, for all intents and purposes, according to, according to me, I think the whole H-1B program should be scrapped in order to reverse this intentional demographic demise of the country and also to save American jobs. However, we know that politicians right now, they certainly don't have an appetite for that, and many of them have bought into the hype of, well, we've got to have a foreign labor force and that sort of thing. However, this is a great step in the right direction. Making these companies pay. We're going to get into the specifics of it, how this is actually quite, I think, from an administrative standpoint, pretty genius how they're actually going to use the previous court's ruling as a way to make this acceptable based on what the court has previously said. We're going to talk about that. Also, big enforcement. We've got other news with the immigration front where the administration may be targeting up to 200,000 deportations coming our way. A lot of stuff. Also, Lindsey Clancy. We've got an incredible story with this Abdul Syed and what he said on Jesse Waters about circumcision and Sharia law and Christian law. We've got a great show for you. I've got my co-host Rob Spencer in seat number 2. I've got Eric Haynes in seat number 3. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
Paul Harrell program.
Here we go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Can't do it without you. Broadcasting live from the great state of Arkansas here on Live from American TV. Also, the Paul Harrell program YouTube. I want to say hello to all of you guys watching through the digital airwaves in North Central Arkansas over at Hometown TV. We really do appreciate it. Rob Spencer's with me. Rob.
Paul, it's an honor to be with you when I can, as always. Glad that Eric's back with us again today. So it's been a great week so far. I know we're only on day 2, but we felt like we all got off air yesterday and was like, we just really enjoyed that show. It just
that was a lot of fun.
It was good. A lot of topics. And as we were going through today's show, there's so much news that have happened over the last 48 hours, and we're just excited to get to that. We're going to try to squeeze all of these topics in. I'll be monitoring the chat. Eric will be monitoring the chat, so we'll love your thoughts, and we'll read some of those on air. But you've got us for the next 2 hours.
Eric Haynes, brother, thank you for being with us.
So great to be part of the conversation as always.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Before we get any further, I want to remind everybody, the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. Go to healingveteransproject.us, scan the QR code, donate to veterans. We're trying to get them red light therapy that the VA will not cover. Doctors say they need it, but the VA says no. Maybe take a Vicodin, take an opioid. Potentially ruin your life. Red light therapy doesn't ruin people's lives, though. That's not what I think. So scan the QR code. Donate monthly. Donate one time. Donate annually, quarterly, whatever you want. Also, if you're a business, reach out to me, Paul, at healingveteransproject.us. We want to integrate it with your point of sale and give your patrons the opportunity to support the Healing Veterans Project. All right, let's get right to it. Now, the top of the news here is basically about immigration, right? So it's about H-1B. It's about what the administration is trying to do to curb this abuse. And so because of that, the opening segment today will be borderline insanity because, we're sitting here talking about immigration. And so while it's not specifically the border, which is pretty secure at the moment, it's time for borderline insanity. All right, so here's the news. The news is that the Trump administration has filed to charge $103,000 a fee on H-1B visas for workers hired within the United States. This comes as the Labor Department, according to Eric Daugherty, has major fraud investigations going into H-1B. So kind of a double whammy here. Here's the vice president saying, if an American corporation needs workers, it should hire and train Americans. The Wall Street Journal reporting the Trump administration is proposing a new 6-figure H-1B visa fee that would apply to most new applications, not just those applying from abroad, replacing an earlier plan to charge $100,000 for the visa. Now, we talked about this, I think, last week on the show, how that was originally the plan, and then we kind of pivoted away from that, abandoned that. We said that the donors certainly don't want it, and yet here it is. It's back now. What makes this different than the original plan, the original just $100,000 plan? Well, Layoff Hedge, I think, has a pretty good breakdown for that about how this is different. First of all, it's coming from a different authority. I think different statutory authority. The $100,000 number came from a presidential proclamation using entry restriction powers. The Massachusetts judge, though, said that made it a tax, and only Congress can tax. So this new fee uses INA 286. Don't really know what that means exactly. But it's the same fee statute that the USCIS has used for decades to set every filing fee it charges, right? So we're already now moving from a tax. So this is under authority of issuing fees.
Yeah, because there you find that there are certain things that are, this is $25, this one is $75. Yes. Well, this filing fee just happens to be $100,000.
And they do it with using math, though. They do it by actually using the cost of what the agency uses to process all this.
Okay, dope.
So it's a different process. The proclamation skipped the public comment. This is a formal notice of proposed rulemaking with a 30-day comment period, a cost study, a regulatory impact analysis. That is the procedural box the court said was missing. Also different math. The $100,000 figure was a round number picked by the White House, but the $103,265 fee has a paper trail. $8.7 million in identified agency costs divided by 85,000 cap petitions, rounded to the nearest $5. Cost recovery is what 286M allows. So it's a different scope. This is a big one. The proclamation only hit workers entering from abroad, but this one confirmed in October that F1 students already in the U.S. changing status to H-1B were exempt. That was the loophole. Roughly half of cap petitions come from students moving off. So they're here on a student visa. They want to move over. This would apply to them now.
Right.
So this closes a loophole.
It was a back door for them to, if they were accepted with a student visa, then they could stay, get their education, and as soon as they're ready to graduate, instead of going back to India or wherever, they get to stay on with these H-1Bs. No more, though.
That's right.
Yeah, that they would close that loophole, and that sounds phenomenal to me. I mean, we've been complaining about this over and over and over, and I think I've gone on my anti-Indian rant, and I'm not talking about Native American Indians. I'm talking about the country, and mostly because I look at it and I see, well,
who knew going to an American theme park would radicalize you?
You know, the smell still gives me nightmares. It was so awful. For those that do not remember that story, I'll tell a very brief version of it. We went to East Tennessee over there in Gatlinburg, and we were outside this little theme park thing, and just about every person was out there were Indian. You could tell. Some of them were in traditional garb, and it was hot. Even though it was October, it was really hot, and the stench is something I'm not likely to soon forget. Even those that were wearing T-shirts and shorts, the stench, it's like, do you not bathe? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So, and I'm not saying that that's all Indian people, but it was all of those Indian people. I didn't go around and sniff every one of them. But anyway, that has nothing to do with the fact that I'm frustrated.
Sounds like you didn't.
But I digress.
Yeah, I digress. Like you didn't have to.
Listen, I'm going to get that jab in where I can, okay? I got tired of smelling booty. I got tired of smelling underarms. And I'm like, we all showered because we have respect for each other and for people around us.
And yourself.
And myself. Yeah. I'm not going to let myself walk out there looking and smelling nasty. You could have showered. You're all here on vacation. I guarantee you the hotel or the Airbnb or something that you're staying in has a shower. There's free soap. Wash your nasty ass.
Maybe maybe the lack of showering is part of their culture in terms of when they vacation, it's like, hey,
I don't get it, man.
It's time to just not shower.
They buy these, call me racist, I don't give a damn. They could buy these gas stations, you go in there and it stinks of curry. You leave that gas station and you are just infected with this smell. You then have to go change your clothes or you're going to be smelling that stuff.
You're going full Joe Biden this morning.
I'm done.
But
I'm done. But no, hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
To the actual point here. And that is, see, you just get me fired up, Paul.
I know.
I know. I'm getting canceled.
I did it on purpose.
It goes back to when you're paying these physicians half what you would pay them. And I keep going to physicians, but, our good friend joined the show, and he was talking about, he's in the tech industry, and he was talking about how his job would pay maybe low six figures, a very specialized position, and then they'll bring in these people and pay them $50,000 or $60,000, and they can't compete. What can they do as a United States white person? They can't compete against these low wages, and so you understand why the companies are doing it. Why they're taking advantages of it, but you're also understanding where J.D. Vance is coming from. This is ridiculous. Hire American workers, train American workers, invest in America. And I want to just say this even further. I saw this video and I was like, yep, as soon as he started talking, and it was a guy that was like a concrete person, and he was wearing one of those, cameras because he's obviously had bad interactions and he's probably posting on social media and all of that stuff. But he goes up, quotes this concrete pad. The owner agrees to $6,000. The guy says it'll probably be about 2 days. And the guy said, okay, well, we're having this get together. Really want to have it done by then, by whatever. And he said, okay. So he pulled an additional crew and got it done in 6 hours. Okay. The guy standing out there says, hey, the video starts with, well, hey, man, just because I got it done in less time, now you're wanting to pay me half? The guy was saying you need to take less. And as soon as he started talking, soon as I heard that Indian accent, I was like, there it is. And here's the thing, it is not insulting for them to try to negotiate that. They don't consider it an insult to try to just completely work you down on the price. I will not lie. My worst transaction ever was when I was representing a buyer it was a husband and wife, and both were Indian, and it was the most frustrating transaction ever. They were trying to squeeze everything, every little $100 fee on this stuff, and it's expensive. I get it. But he was just trying to negotiate everything, and it's like, yeah, man, and combine that with the fact that they're coming in to this country and they're low wages and all of that. And I know that's just Indian people, but it's all races. I'm ranting, I'm rambling, well, I'm sorry, but I'm glad to see this.
So the post goes on, says, this is the right decision. The old system let employers hire from abroad at a discount to the U.S. market. DHS's own analysis in this rule says H-1B workers are paid 16.1% less than comparable American workers. A $103,000 fee wipes out that discount over the first 6 years of the visa. But renewals are still at an all-time high. This doesn't help. So, yeah, we still have the problem. But
hopefully it's just phase one, and they figure something out.
Exactly. Hopefully this is just phase one. Now, the Associated Press is reporting this story: U.S. set for largest mass visa revocation in history, targeting up to 200,000 foreigners. The Trump administration is preparing to revoke the business and tourism visas of up to 200,000 foreigners who have applied for or are currently seeking asylum status in the U.S. If it happens, the move would be the largest single mass revocation of visas in U.S. history and would likely face legal challenges. Unless challenged or revised, the State Department is expected to announce in the coming weeks the revocation of so-called B-1 and B-2 visas issued between 2016 and 2026, whose holders have sought asylum or are now seeking asylum, according to State Department documents obtained by the AP and two U.S. officials. The action will be taken in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security. So this is a welcome move if it happens. And again, AP also saying, it's going to be challenged in court, just like everything is being challenged in court. But That's what you got to do in order to break through this court jester stranglehold they have over the country.
Right. Well, at least they're trying to get it done. And as we were going to talk about, we had a little bit of a victory with the Supreme Court yesterday, and so we've just got to keep taking those victories where we can get them. I know that I know that it's been extremely frustrating for conservatives that every single solitary thing Donald Trump does, someone is rushing to a liberal federal judge to try to get some kind of stay on it, right?
Yep.
But fortunately, it seems for the most part we've been able to overcome those. But my gosh, man, the Supreme Court is working overtime more than they ever have in terms of handling this minutia, and it's as Clarence Thomas says, where else can they go? So we've got to hear this stuff, and at least they're doing the right thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, J.D. Vance says that rents are going to come down as illegal immigrants are deported. That's obviously true. We just got to have more. A few. This is just from this Insider Wire, but I thought it was interesting. What's going on? Kind of an interesting summary. Trump confirms ICE proceedings against Ilhan Omar. Now that we haven't covered this, but there's whispers that Ilhan Omar may get deported. Which, if that were to happen, that would be so amazing on so many levels.
Eric,
you don't think so?
No.
You don't think amazing, or you don't think it'll happen?
Oh, it would be amazing.
Okay, yeah,
I just don't have any faith in
Right.
the system that
Of course.
she'll be deported.
Of course. The Supreme Court allows Trump mail-in ballot. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Go ahead.
Well, look at it this way. To your guys' point about everything being fought in the court system and being fought by Democrats and liberal judges. Like, think back to Doge, okay? So Doge came in and found 189 specific examples of major flaws in the system, totaling about $892 billion, right? 172 of those were fought in court. 164 of those are still in the middle of legal battles right now. That's back when Doge found... So they've technically only been able to help get our... So think about it this way. Right now, we're fighting against the Democrats and against those liberal judges with our money to try to get back our money that was wasted. Okay, so my confidence and my glass half full, which I know you guys know me as kind of a perpetual optimist, but like... I go by trends and I go by what is actually realistic and what really happens. And Doge is just like this shining example of something that should have been so easy for everyone to get on board with, that this is going to save us hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars if we let them keep going. And instead, they fought a liberal democratic justice tyrant. And I mean that as one person, but it's many people.
Sure.
From day one. And now here we are approaching the midterms, and 164 of those things that they found, they're all still in court. So I just don't have a lot of faith that the justice system will root out and figure this thing out anymore. I feel bad for kind of leaning towards more of a pessimistic nature towards our justice system, but I also can't ignore reality.
Yeah. Well, you bring up Doge. Doge was obviously a massive, in terms of a populist. It polled very well. Republicans had a huge advantage with Doge. The people loved it. And then, of course, they didn't actually want to eliminate any of that stuff either, because it was the swamp. But this brings us to the next segment, which is court jesters. All right, yeah, so for court gestures, we have this story, but essentially actually kind of a positive thing. I know Eric was talking about the negative of it, but the Supreme Court actually siding with President Trump yesterday, which was a big win concerning mail-in voters or mail-in ballots. Check this out. The U.S. Supreme Court has sided with President Trump, lifting a lower court's order that blocked President Trump's mail-in ballot restrictions to go in effect. Now, what are these restrictions? Each USPS envelope has to be marked with a unique barcode so that you can track it. You've got DHS and SSA create approved voter list. Then the USPS only sends ballots to that list. Trump is now allowed to move forward with this while the full case is heard. So this is just essentially saying, hey, you can go on with this while. So it's not the final ruling here at all, but it is at least something.
Well, and it was unsigned, which is a little indicative of just how early it is. And it's also, I'm trying not to read the tea leaves too much and say, oh, well, with this Supreme Court, does that mean that they don't want to really get involved in this and they're going to kick this can down the street a whole long time and see what happens? Or are they really trying to help out and say, hey, let's immediately allow this to proceed and, let's hear it when it comes to a full case, but we like what we're hearing or we're like what's in front of us. So you could go either way with that stuff. I tend to believe the second, because it doesn't seem like the Supreme Court acts just to not act. And in this case, I think they specifically acted because I would anticipate that they're going to act in the future on this, meaning make it permanent, meaning clear all of the hurdles for Trump to fully implement this. And as MS Now says, oversee and overtake our voting here in the United States. The Trump administration wants to oversee and overtake.
Wait. That is is that some sort of rhyme that they have come up?
No, it was just
seriously, is that the new, this is what democracy looks like.
Yeah.
Oversee and overtake. Trump is killing our democratic state.
Wu-Tang.
No, it was just one of those. It was just one of those live hits, and it was just she. You know what they do on MS Now? They use this strong language like Trump wants to take command of the voting here. And it's like, no, if you really were to look at it objectively, he's just wanting to ensure a fair vote. But what do they say we want? Well, you want to get rid of legal voters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think dead people vote for Republicans. They just don't. And so you're the one fighting to keep dead people. You're
Well
the one
said.
fighting. You're
That
the
is
one
really good, actually. Show me the dead people that vote for Republicans.
Right.
They just
maybe
don't.
in Republican primaries, maybe.
Yeah, but just say for Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So anyway, we're talking about this guy who is he's been griping about, and I'm not say griping. He's been raising the alarm about these voting for 10 years. He's been saying our elections are not secure for the last 10 years, and even so much as the Democrats were saying that in 2016, they believed that Russia was hacking and was trying to get Donald Trump elected. But we can all agree that that there are there are people voting illegally. Even the Democrats will say that, yes, except that number is so inconsequential that we've not found any race that would have been decided had those people not voted, would have been decided differently. And I'm like, you can't say that because these are the ones that we know about, and you're the one fighting the investigation of. You won't let us investigate it. You won't give us these voter rolls. You fought Trump tooth and nail to check it against the people who are on the that are here temporary, that that they have their visa, whatever the state, whatever visa it is. You won't let us check that against the voter rolls to see if they are actually registered to vote when they're not supposed to be, not as a legal citizen. You're not letting us check all of this stuff. You complained when we were wanting to check against people receiving Social Security or SSI or disability or food stamps. Like they wanted to check that against the voter rolls. Why? Why? Because you know what we're looking for? We're looking for illegals, and they're not supposed to be either place. They're not supposed to be on either one of those, and they are. Okay? And so you don't want us to check and cross-check because the jig will be up, and that the Democrats are so damn crazy that nobody really votes for you in majority en masse, maybe in some ridiculous areas like Chicago, where apparently the black Democrats are so stupid there that they don't realize their party they're voting for the party of the KKK. They're voting for the party of the, that has put this government in power, that is completely pushing them out of their housing, that is completely pushing them out of affordability in their home in the city of Chicago, and they keep voting for that Democrat. With that, their mayor is absolutely a criminal lunatic. He is criminal, and that man has an approval rating of 8%. How the hell did he get elected in the first place? They are so trained to just say, I go to the polls and I vote for Democrats. I just go to the polls and I vote for Democrats. And it's not just black people. There are so many people that just say, well, this is what I vote. I've told the story about a World War II veteran standing in front of me in the line, and we had to choose in the primaries. Do you want a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot? And he goes, I'm a Democrat. And I said, in my mind, sir, you're a 1980s Democrat. You're a 1990s Democrat. You sure as heck are not at that year, well, that year was like 2022. You are sure as heck not a 2022 Democrat, because that party left you long ago. It does not exist. The people that you voted for, the beliefs that you have, are much more aligned with me over here in my line. But I'm not going to say anything. I respect your service. I respect that hat on your head. So it's not just these minorities that are doing this. I'm just telling you, people are so programmed to, I go and vote for this. I go and vote for this. We've seen countless street interviews where people are saying, hey, who said this? Who said this? Oh, that's racist as hell, you know, and you find out that it's your party that's saying all of that. You find out that you actually agree. They're just seeing, what are you more aligned with, Republicans or Democrats? And they're giving them poll questions, asking them questions. They're like, well, actually, you're 78% Republican. No, I'm always voting Democrat. What are they going to do the next election? They're going to go vote Democrats because they're trained to do it, okay? But those people, even with that, are in the minority. They are. We see it. What Trump would have won, 49 states had it been only men voting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do have a...
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little.
We do have.
We're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm giving away the lead here.
19th Amendment post.
I'm going to quit ranting so much, but I get so frustrated about this when people say that we're a 50-50 nation, and even that, if it allegedly is 50% on that side, how many of those people actually know what they're voting for when they're going to the voting polls? Do they actually know that person doesn't represent them? Not in the ways that they think they do, and that their values are probably more aligned with the other side, but they're mentally trained to do it.
I mean, to your point, I feel like we have to show this clip from inside the Minnesota State House. There was a effort in Minnesota to remove deceased people from the voter rolls. I know it's a perfect segue. And it did not go well.
11. I recognize a member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is just to require the full removal of deceased people from the voters' rolls. And before you ask, well, nobody deceased is voting.
This guy looks like a kind of a large Mike Lindell. Does every man from Minnesota look like Mike Lindell?
Office Space.
You know who that is?
Oh, Milton.
That's Matt Foley.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
From in a van down by the river.
Yeah, it kind of does. Anyway, he's trying to do the right thing here, this guy.
And
yeah, bless his heart.
Before you ask, well, nobody deceased is voting.
He does look like
federal system at SSA has checked registrations and has flagged deceased people registering in the state of Minnesota. It's not a huge thing, but let's take care of it by cleaning up the roll. Oregon is doing it, and other states are doing it, so it's not an unusual thing to do. Let's just vote green.
11. I recognize a member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
What ended up happening with that vote there, Paul?
They did not remove the deceased people from the voter roll.
Interesting.
Minnesota Democrats, the Democrats,
I wouldn't have thought it.
Vote,
to your point,
to not remove deceased people from voter rolls.
They don't want to. What was it you said? They don't. What was the chant? They
wants to oversee and overtake our elections.
Yeah, Trump wants to oversee and overtake elections.
The elections here in the United States.
The elections here in the United
I mean,
States. I can't believe
listen.
that rhymed. That was.
Look, that is that. all it said, the first line, breaking, Minnesota Democrats vote to not remove deceased people from the voter rolls.
Gets back
But
to the,
look what they
gets back-
said. They need these dead votes
Yeah,
to create fake
yeah,
votes.
that's
It's just
right.
like what you were saying.
And he
This
goes,
is how they win. They cheat.
and he even said it. He's like, well, if you think that dead people aren't registering to vote, we've actually been cross-checking that, and they have. They've been registering. So we know that they're not. Well, you know, this ghost didn't walk in there to the registration office and register to vote. We know what they're doing. These people are getting a hold of Social Security's dates of birth, addresses, and they're going to register, and they're cheating. And the party that doesn't want that cheating stifled is the party that cheating benefits. So don't tell me that we're election deniers, because I would rather deny something than absolutely be the one cheating something. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that's who the Democrats are. Or at the very least, that's who they're enabling. And they don't want these gone, because these are the people that are going to lose their job. That's a 60-40 state, and I've just said it in my mind. I don't truly believe that's what Minnesota is. I think it's just so damn corrupt. They have gotten these politicians in there that the corrective actions that need to be taken are not being allowed to be taken, because the Democrats, the ones committing the fraud, are the ones in the control of fixing it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and I think inside the administration, that's one of the reasons. I mean, we shouldn't have pulled out of Minnesota, but I think that's one of the reasons they were focused on Minnesota. They probably see all the corruption, and they're thinking, we need to go liberate the people that actually live there, because it makes no sense for a state like Minnesota to be as left as they are on paper, when we suspect that they're not. But that brings up our next segment, because we've got ballot fraud in Michigan. So now it's time for Ballot Bandits. For this edition of Ballot Bandits, we go to the state of Michigan, where Emerald Robinson had a couple of posts over the last 5 days. We had a clerk in Michigan asking the federal government to remove illegals from its voter rolls. Listen to this.
Hastings Charter Township in Berry County, Michigan. My county sheriff, Darleaf, had received a report today and disseminated that information that an employee at the Secretary of State advised him and said that there was proof that when a non-citizen changes their address, programming automatically registers the non-citizen to vote. When that state employee advised their supervisor, the supervisor's response was, "It's okay, because that will be caught downline by the clerks."
We covered this last week
That
with
is
the
not
sheriff.
correct. Once it's in the qualified voter file, there's no way for me to verify citizenship, and therefore they are automatically issued a ballot or an absentee ballot. So, since it is my responsibility to safeguard the qualified voter file for our township, according to MCL 168.151 and MCL 168.520, I'm asking if the federal government is interested to help verify my citizen role. I would be welcome to have them here. I will safeguard my voter roll in the office, but they are certainly welcome to come and compare against mine. In this way, we will uphold our federal elections. We will definitely follow law, and it will be fair and honest.
Here's a guy saying, hey, look, federal government, come help us. Now we have a second Michigan election clerk is coming forward to request help as well.
Hello, my name is Sarah DeBoer. I'm the clerk of Climax Township in Kalamazoo County, Michigan. Today I am joining with other clerks across the state of Michigan, calling for federal assistance in verifying the citizenship status of those on our voter rolls. Under MCL 168.515 and MCL 168.520. I am asking for this to be done legally and in my office to ensure that the voter files are protected under Michigan law. Recently, a whistleblower who was an employee at the Secretary of State's office came forward alleging that the Secretary of State is registering non-citizens to vote. Contrary to what the supervisor of that employee told them, local clerks have zero ability to verify the citizenship status of anyone in the qualified voter files. So I am asking for federal assistance to do my duty as a local clerk to ensure that those who are registered to vote are also legal citizens. Absentee ballots go out on September 24th and time is running short. So I look forward to hearing from someone and working with someone from the federal government very shortly.
They're literally, help us.
Don't hold your breath.
We've got a month until those ballots go out.
Unfortunately, I could see this lady losing her job over that. And that, again, tells you everything you need to know about the cheating Democrats. This woman is speaking out. She's asking for help from the federal government because she knows she's not going to get any help from her state. And somebody would say, well, Michigan it's Michigan. That's a state. They should have, excuse me, the ability to run their elections how they so choose. But they are sending members to Congress to represent all 50 states with their voting powers. And they're passing legislation that could affect me here in Arkansas.
Yes.
Okay?
That's right.
That's where it's like, I mean, I've said this before, but this is where it's like wars have been fought over less.
That's right.
So if don't tell me that I don't have a so sorry. Don't tell me that I don't have a stake in your elections.
It's those drinks. We always, every time we have energy drinks, we get.
No, it's not that. It's not our energy drink.
Huh.
It can't be this wholesome, delicious Black Rifle Coffee Company energy drink.
Cold cut combo.
I stopped
Remember
drinking
the
them.
Adam
I went back to
Sandler?
just plain coffee, and I don't have to clear my throat every time.
Well, I'm
I
not clearing
cough.
my throat. I think it's just you, Rob.
You
Listen, so I need
What am I doing?
sometimes. I didn't say all the time.
Okay.
But sometimes.
Well,
all right.
I'm just hoping that they will see me drinking this every day, and just like if they don't want to sponsor the show, at least send me a case of these or something, because I toss them back. But Grunt Style owes us. I got a new shirt today.
Here we go.
I didn't listen. I got to tell you this story.
Shirt, man.
I got to tell this story real quick.
I want a tight one too.
So
like a Hollister shirt.
So I didn't make it. I didn't make it home Saturday. I was playing in a golf tournament on Saturday. I didn't make it home in time, and I got the notification that because it says your mission is complete. That's what it says for Grunt Style, right? And it gives me the thing. And my Grunt Style shirts were in there, and I was like, crap.
Nice.
And so I went when I got home from the golf tournament. I skulked over there to the mailbox and opened it up, and it was empty.
For reference, Rob's loving wife doesn't want him to buy any more of these shirts because he has so many. So he's having to like a drug addict.
I'm like a drug addict.
Hiding his. Got to get my fix, hiding it from your family. So, but you got busted, is what you're. I
got busted because the mailbox was empty. And I went inside, and I quickly was just like, oh, I'm so tired after that golf tournament, because it was so hot and everything. And, and she goes, by the way, your shirts are on the bed in there, And I was like, oh, yeah. And she goes, don't tell me that there's more of those delayed ones, because I tried that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, this is part of a big order, and these were just delayed. And
this is like every person coming home from the mall in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's like, now this is what it is. Stuff arrives in the mail, and you got empty Amazon boxes laying all over the place. And you're like, wait a minute. What? Hold on.
Well, so
this wasn't in the budget.
She's really good-hearted about it, but she's smiling and all that stuff, and she's like, Rob, you've got a problem. Well, anyway, she then goes into our closet, and she starts going down the line and taking every Grunt Style shirt and putting it to the front. And she goes,
it's inventory time, honey.
She goes, how many are dirty versus in your gym bag and all that stuff? And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm like hemming and hawing, Anyway, and we start counting, and she's like, she had to go tend to one of the kids, and I came out there, and she goes, how many was it? And I said, it was 26.
Oh,
but here's the thing. It was actually 34. I just couldn't tell her. I was like, there's no way I could tell her. There's no way. No way I could tell her. I was just
auditors will never know the real truth.
Yeah. She's like, how much are these shirts? And I was just like, oh, like 18. There may be 2 shirts that were $18. The majority of them are $30 each.
And
probably
you have 30. How many?
Yeah, I got over $1,000 full of T-shirts, and all of that stuff. But anyway, Grunt Style, please sponsor our shirts. Our shirts. Oh, sorry. I mean our show.
We'll just call it the Shirt Show.
The Shirt Show. Okay.
Rename it.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail that, but
no, it's fine.
Anyway.
The ballots are a problem. Our elections are not secure. We know this. Somebody was saying the other day, this was right after the midterm, the primaries last week, and we did a show on it, and I don't know, I can't remember who it was, maybe John Harrell, I think, from over there, I think that's who it was, at Badlands, I think. He said something about the idea of people covering the elections, that they'll cover election fraud, right? We'll cover the insecurity of our elections, but then we also come at it and we cover the primary results as if everything is hunky-dory and we can trust the results. And I responded to him, and I actually said, we actually did both on the show. We said, hey, take everything with a grain of salt here, because, yes, we're going to tell you about our elections and the primary results and everything, but then at the same time, we all know that this could all just be lies. And it's a real shame that that's the country that we live in right now, where we're just having to qualify everything because we don't have faith in the elections, because we know that if there's enough money on the line, if there's enough policies on the line here, that you can. I don't think it's every single election. I don't think every single election is rigged, because I think you have to pay people in order to do it, whether it's the ballots or whether it even is electronic manipulation, with the computers or whatever. I still think that takes money in order to pay people off to do it in some way, shape, or form. But it is really sad that this is the state of our country.
Yeah.
And both sides have done it. I think the Democrats are wrong. When Trump wins in 2016, they say, "Oh, we couldn't have possibly been rejected by the American people. It must have been the Russians." Well, obviously they're wrong about that. But it is interesting, just from a 30,000-foot view, how if the election doesn't go your way, both sides now think it's because it was rigged.
Yeah.
That's not really good long-term if you want to have a country, if you want to preserve your nation. That's not good when the people don't think that their voices are actually being heard, because then they come to the conclusion that they're slaves, and things can get out of hand really, really quickly. So something to think about there. Next up, we have in kind of a continuation, we're going to actually talk about Mike Pence. We haven't talked about Mike Pence in a while, and in order to do it...
It was a painful memory I was hoping to forget.
I know. In order to talk about Mike Pence, though, we have to have our segment, Trans Women Are Men. No, I'm not saying that Mike Pence is a woman. Just to be clear, this is a viral post that has been making the rounds. Mike Pence being interviewed over on CNN, The Blaze, with this coverage. And there was a little bit of an awkward moment here about Mike Pence's former staffer who works for the CIA and is also trans.
Quickly, before I let you go, I do want to ask about comments by Julia Curley, former CIA officer who served as your daily briefer during the first Trump term. She's a trans woman. I spoke to her earlier this week, and she said despite your different views, you treated her with, quote, great dignity. And a big moment for her in her life was you telling her mother that you must be very proud of your daughter. What was your reaction to hearing her say that?
I haven't read the article. I appreciate the kind words. But, you and I have known each other a long time, Dan. And my conservative values are fairly well known. But maybe some people didn't quite know that among our Christian values is my wife and I believe in treating others the way that we'd like to be treated, with decency and respect. And I was heartened to hear Julia reflect that that was the experience that took place in our office.
Okay, well, I haven't seen that clip. I will say I don't have a problem with what he just said, because I'm not going to sit here and I have never been disrespectful to a trans, and I've seen one of our local restaurants. Their manager was trans, Very nice every time I went in there, and so I'm not saying I don't talk to some, not disrespectfully to somebody. My problem is the ideology.
Correct.
My problem is that, you know, the affirmations and the whole, if I don't call you what you want to be called, then I'm disrespectful and all of that. And you look at Dana Bash, and what did Dana say? She's a trans woman.
Exactly.
You know, and that kind of stuff right there. Like, when I'm speaking to someone who's trans, I purposefully just avoid that. Ask them what their name is, you know, and they tell you what their name. That's just how I'm going to refer to them. I'm not going to say she, they, all that crap, because those are.
Well, you don't want to lie.
Well, I'm not going to live in the delusion. I'm not going to say how's lady life lately.
Exactly.
You know? Like,
exactly. And that's why Steve Day says this clip, this is the failure of the post-religious right era of evangelicalism contained in one singular clip. And what he's essentially saying here is you've got the two greatest commandments that Jesus summarizes the entire bodies of the both tables of the law. The first table of the law, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, understanding. And then the second table of the law is love your neighbor as yourself. But the first one is to love the Lord your God, and the second one is to love your neighbor. But if you invert that and you put love your neighbor as yourself in front of the first commandment, love the Lord your God, you end up affirming people on a path to hell and destruction, a path of misery. That's not loving. Well, you see what you do? You're actually, by tolerating the lie. Yes, you can do it in love, and you can have respect for somebody.
That's all I'm saying. Is I'm not going around. I'm not going to be a dick to people.
You can do
that's
it in love
and
have respect for them. But the loving thing to do is to not participate in their delusion. And if they're a man and they want to be called she, you can't do that. Number one, for their sake, but you also can't do it for yours because you don't want to bear false witness. You don't want to tell a lie. You don't want to live in that delusion. So it's really not a fine line to walk, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly too, I'll say this because somebody brought up a point there. I said what I said there, and then they said, so you're going to call Richard Levine Rachel, and that actually got me because no, I wouldn't call that lunatic man Rachel, no more than I would call Sarah McBride Sarah. I forget, was it Tim? Is what's his name? Anyway, whatever his name is. So I will track. I'm going to pull that back in a little bit and retract that. All I'm saying is I'm not.
You talking about the congressperson?
Yeah,
the congressman, Eric.
Yeah.
Congressperson.
So I'll pull that back a little bit.
I know you're not. I'm just making sure.
I just don't have a habit of walking down the street calling people freak shows and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's just not. Sorry. I just let one slip. I'm so sorry about that. Try not to cuss. With one of the bad words.
Right, no. I mean, there's a difference. Like, yes. And then this is where you assume it's like, okay, this just means that we're just going to, dunk on everybody. No, I believe most Christians actually, when they're interacting with people, they give them the benefit of the doubt as an individual. But as you actually start to have a conversation with somebody, you're not going to entertain their delusions or affirm their sin. I mean, it's the same reason why the cake bakers were not wanting to bake a cake for a religious ceremony that they believe is not good.
Well, I'm not going to have I just don't feel like I'm going to have a conversation with somebody other than a pleasant conversation in terms of, table for two, thank you, appreciate it, all of that stuff. I'm just saying I'm gonna have pleasant interactions. I'm not gonna
table for two.
I'm not gonna take my feelings about trans and go around and drop off I know I should, but drop off a Bible.
You will serve me my food, and I will call you what you were born as.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get something real nice in my food.
yeah.
I'm gonna get something real nice in my food. I'm just not built that way. I'm just not built that way, but
Starbucks,
anyway.
Enjoy that Pentalax moment on Dumb and Dumber when you get home and you become Harry trying to find a toilet.
Outkick reporting that the WNBA has declared Enes Kanter, Freedom, and Royce White ineligible. And Outkick says, we applaud the league's sudden ability to define a woman.
Oh, those girls are so
They're
brave.
so transphobic.
Look at that.
Brave.
Can you believe they're not going to... The WNBA is not going to allow them to have the best ratings they've ever had.
Listen, Go ahead.
Anyway, Royce White responds to the news and says, "We will not stand for this genocide."
Can you imagine what their stats would be? Like, I'm thinking like 50-plus points a game, 30-plus rebounds. Like,
Yes.
golly. Did you see his wingspan when he stood up to what's-her-name starts firing off at him in that game? And he's just like, hey, I just love women. Women are nouns.
In all seriousness, though, yeah,
just
they
here
they
to
would
protect the
score a
women.
lot, but I think inevitably they would absolutely injure some woman, the women players there.
No, I think they'd be really careful.
You think they'd
and
just be
dainty?
Yeah, dainty.
I
Oh
think
my
they would
gosh,
prance.
dude.
Honestly,
I've
should have let.
gone to enough Memphis Grizzlies basketball games to know that it takes guys that size about 4 steps to get from one end of the court
does.
to the other, and it's just wild to think what their stats could be.
Honestly, if they
started playing
I think they
against
should be
girls.
able to play if they play literally with one arm tied behind their back. They can only play with one hand.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things like, I mean, just going back to the Mike Pence thing. Mike Pence never. I mean, it was never said that person, complimented Mike Pence on using their preferred. Now it's implied that they use their pronouns and all of that stuff, but it never said that. All it said was that he was respectful. That he just wasn't a dick.
Right.
Like going around, and that's all I'm saying. Just please let me clarify and say that's all I'm saying. I'm just not going to go around now. If I've got a platform, which we do here, to talk about the trans ideology and the movement and the absolute indoctrination of our children, that's definitely one thing. I'm just not going to walk down the street and yell and throw rocks at trans people. That's just not who it is. They've got mental illness. They need some freaking help, man. They need some freaking help. It's no more than I would go and ask hey, freak show, why don't you eat some food? Your skin and bones, to somebody who's anorexic.
Well, this is the last thing I'll say.
All right.
Ultimately, these people with mental illness, they need Jesus Christ.
They
right?
do. They
and
do.
here's the secret. This is a positive thing that I'll tell you guys, and I'll tell members of the LGBTQ, RSTLNE, which elect to by Val community. There are future Christians among those populations right now that they will even if they've trans themselves and are full of regret. There are people that will come out of those lifestyles and repent and become Christians.
Yeah.
And so and one of the ways that it happens is by us telling them the truth. It's not it's not affirming their delusions and leaving them in their sin.
Listen, what they're really trying to push hard for now, and it's even it's just everything comes in phases, right? Everything comes in phases of acceptance, and they're trying to get us to accept, and embrace and celebrate and all of this stuff. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. But now, what's the big thing that they're trying to do? They're trying to get you to drop the word trans and just say,
"Oh, really? I didn't know."
Oh,
this.
yeah, this is a movement, and say, "Quit calling me a trans woman. I'm a woman."
Oh,
yeah.
And then if you speak out against that, then you can't say anything as a cis woman. They want to put a label on you that they've invented.
And by the way, cis means normal.
It just means
Is that what it means?
It means not crazy.
Okay.
Or at least, at the very least, I guess they could be a crazy person that kill their kids, as we're going to talk about. But there's also I think it's just they're trying to say you're a biological woman. You don't know the struggle of being a trans woman. I mean, listen, this is where we've come here, folks. This is where we've gotten to, and so So Eric's got to step out for just a second. Yeah, but anywho, I forgot what I was saying here. Oh, but yeah, this Enes Kanter thing, and obviously we know that they don't want to truly play in the WNBA. We know that because Royce White's running for Congress.
I think he lost.
Oh, he lost
the primary.
Well,
let me make sure. I don't want to
check that. I don't know what the status of that is. But then Enes Kanter Freedom has retired, and he has his very successful podcast, doing well with it. I think they're just raising ridiculousness and trying to bring it to light, and the WNBA is failing it because how are they going to reject them from the draft? How can they do that if it could anybody else would have that opportunity? And so I will say one other thing about that. I've mentioned this on the show before, but there's a real possibility that, especially from this player right now that's playing in France, that is an actual trans, they're not just saying they're trans, they're actually living their life as a trans person, and they're playing on he's playing on a women's basketball team.
Yeah.
And he's good, obviously.
Well,
he's dominating.
Yeah, he's good.
He's freaking ripped up.
He's good.
And so right.
It's like this entire conversation, if you go watch the movie Meet the Fockers and they're like, spike it, Focker, spike it. And that whole scene where it's slow motion, that's men in women's sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's men in women's sports.
And so this, and it's not going to, how much longer is it going to be before some WNBA team looks at this dude and says, he says he's a woman.
It would destroy the league, but you would have an absolute ratings bonanza of people like me that don't care to watch it. I would watch it just to watch. I mean, I wouldn't consistently watch. I would watch like a couple of times and be like, oh, man, what a joke. But
we
anyway,
just watch the highlights.
Michelle Tafoya wins Republican nomination for Senate. This was a couple weeks ago. The former sportscaster defeated the former NBA player and 2024 GOP U.S. Senate nominee Royce White. So he did lose 2 weeks ago. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, so she's the Republican candidate for Senate there in the state of Minnesota. Unless they get those elections secured, I don't think she's going to win.
Here is Royce White. He says, upon the news the WNBA is rejecting him, he says, I have not received any official or unofficial communication back from the WNBA regarding my eligibility. I will say, as a black trans lesbian, the rumors of denial for my multi-spirit existence are concerning. I'd also like to remind everyone there is a trans genocide taking place right now in America. These kinds of casual comments lead to violence and our deaths. If the sources are true, I would like to see the league take immediate action to correct anybody who refuses to affirm my identity or use my pronouns pay/me. The WNBA leadership has to show up and do the work to tell a black trans woman she is not a woman, or that the trans experience is a stunt, is transphobic, bigoted, and racist. It's literally Nazism and white supremacy. I think the commissioner may be demonstrating some white privilege. No. Royce White for president, WNBA. Let Roysha play. He's going by Roysha White.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, it just seems like the WNBA's answer to this is not to give an answer.
Yeah.
Other than you're not eligible to play, but they'll never give them. They're not going to give them a reason. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, "Oh, well, you're not being serious."
Do they sue? Is there somebody that wants to finance a lawsuit?
If there would be a law firm that is of the same mentality that this trans lunacy has to stop, then they may take that case and be like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's sue. Let's get you in there.
Well, I mean, from a standpoint of pointing out, I mean, it would be obviously whoever the attorney would be to pursue that would have to want to jam up the culture. You're not doing this for money. You're not doing this. You're doing this to essentially confine a evil, wicked ideology to the dustbin of history.
What landmark case didn't start out with that sort of goal for let's correct a large wrong, like a huge wrong, and there's some debate on how Brown versus the board got in there, but of course integration of schools. There's obviously a ton of huge Supreme Court cases that have shaped our country, and I'm not trying to say that this would be on that level, but when you think about it, if the mental health of these people was more paramount than people trying to say, I just want to be accepted, and I want to accept those, I want to affirm those, and using the ideology as a weapon against people and saying, hey, you're transphobic. Okay, just call me transphobic then. I don't care. Just call me transphobic, but I'm not going to sit here and agree to you, again, doing drag shows in front of my children.
Yeah.
Like you have no limits on this, because it's not just that you want to live your life. Hey, you want to live your life however you want to live your life. That's up to you, and you'll have to face Jesus one day. Okay? You'll have to stand before the throne and explain your actions. But that's between you. If you would like to hear a testimony on why I think the Lord and Savior of your life should be Jesus Christ, I would be more than willing to say that. Okay? I'd be more than willing to give you my testimony and how I'm still working on my foul mouth, but I've just always had it. I've just got my foul mouth, and I've got a sweet, never cusses Christian wife, and so I just try to be very respectful around her. Anywho, I will do all of that. But I'm not going to sit here and just embrace this when you come out of you just living in your own life and saying, I want you to live this life with me.
Yeah.
I want you to follow down this delusion hole with me. Say that I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Confirm everything.
Tell me I'm good.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm good.
Tell me I'm good. Tell me I'm right.
I'm righteous. Tell me the way I'm living
and
is
then,
good.
And then if you do, I'll tell you that you're right to support me.
Yes.
Okay? That's how it works, is you have to fully accept me and my delusions before I will accept anything about you and whether your opinion is valid.
And honestly, I think ultimately the reason they want that affirmation is because they know they don't have it from heaven.
Well, they're looking around. They're looking around for affirmation. It's kind of like when you hear about a couple breaking up. I mean, this is a much lesser degree, right? But let's just say one of them was having multiple affairs or something like that, and their marriage is about to be over, and it gets out why the marriage. Well, then the person who was committing those multiple affairs might start calling around. Might start calling around to their mutual friends and being like, you just won't believe what happened. Mm-hmm. You just won't believe how they did. Like, they're trying to get some validation that it wasn't so bad what they did.
Yeah.
In fact, they were really just, how could you not do what you did?
I think your analogy is sound. I mean, I think psychologically that's exactly that's a really good point.
We try to get these people to their side. Well, this is an entire sick, mind-rotted ideology that's trying to get us all to live in that mind-rot ideology, and we're just refusing to ever do that.
We're going to take a break and reset here, but before we do, we're going to listen to this clip, because this is what we're talking about when we come back from break. The Senate candidate out of Michigan, right? Is that Abdul Saeed? Mm-hmm. He is talking about this very issue, but saying that it's no different. Transing kids and circumcision are the same thing. Listen to this. And we're going to go to break.
Dodged again. Sex changes for minors. Do you support that?
Look, I remember having great conversations with my conservative friends about right-to-try legislation. The idea that the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. I just think the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. And if you're a minor, it's between
you want to
your
try
doctor
on
and your
kids?
parent. Now, if you disagree with that, if you disagree that healthcare decisions need to be made by a doctor and their parents and a patient, then we think we agree to disagree. But you want to put government inside.
So Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a
Jesse,
personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
Is circumcision's different than castration?
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that.
We're going to talk more about this when we come back from break. This is the Paul Harrell program on Live from America. Back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
The other things that we're seeing, more and more use for is even vascular issues. So one of the mechanisms that red light, near-infrared light, or red VIVE works is stimulation of the mitochondria and stimulation of nitric oxide production. So when nitric oxide is released in cells, it vasodilates cells. It reduces inflammation. It moves blood. It brings blood flow to areas. So folks that have issues with ulcers or burns or wounds, it can help stimulate increased blood supply, and you need blood to heal. So that can open up different avenues for peripheral artery disease, for neuropathic pain syndromes. And so that's one of the other areas for nerve injury or nerve pain that we can leverage this type of medicine.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
Now for the lowest price ever. Kings, $19.98. Queens, only $18.98. And Giza Dream Bed Sheets, the best sheets in history, for as low as $29.98. Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you, what a concept, now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But that's not all. Order right now and we'll ship your order absolutely free.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the Mush Puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about 1.5 years ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red VIVE.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you on this Tuesday. This is the Paul Harrell Program, broadcasting from the great state of Arkansas. Born and raised here, never known anything different. I've got Eric Haynes in seat number 3. Rob's in the restroom. He'll be right back. Eric, you had to step out and take a work call, brother. I'm glad you stuck with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also missed what we teased before we went to break. When we went to break, hey, Rob, how's it? There's... Sorry. You just got in the shot there. No, it's fine. It's fine. You're not in the shot anymore. Before we went to break, we teased this insane clip of the Michigan Democrat El Sayed.
Oh, right.
Talking about circumcision and saying that it's the same thing as castration. Okay, so let's be clear here. That's what he's saying, is that we have no ground to stand on when we say
this was Jesse Waters
transing
last night. I meant
kids,
to watch this.
transing kids, and calling it health care. We say should be banned. We should say it's evil. And yet he is coming back with this. Well, no, the patient, the doctor, and the parent. And if you've circumcised your kids, well, then you're doing the same thing as castrating them, which is, of course, insanity. You're comparing a very, well, I guess you could say castration is ancient as well. I mean, there have always been eunuchs. I'm just trying to compare it to the
eunuchs.
There's always been ballless people walking around here.
The left wants to make eunuchs great again. I mean, I guess that's very much their.
Paul's going back to the Israelites and the Egyptians.
Well, I'm just trying to think. Like, look, circumcision was a covenant sign from the Lord that obviously was it had spiritual significance. It had ethnic significance.
Yeah,
it's something that has continued. Amongst some Gentiles, not all Gentiles, as now the gospel is available to the entire world through Jesus Christ. But there's a lot of people that still do it. There's also, people trying to rethink. I know there's a movement of people out there that are like, you shouldn't circumcise because it's wrong or whatever.
Oh no, there's more than a movement. They're crazy.
Yeah.
You see them on the they're on the street corner with their posters that say "I want my foreskin back," and they have like white pants on, and they've put fake blood around their crotch.
They've picketed.
These people are lunatics.
They've picketed out here in Northeast Arkansas.
Yeah, I've got a good buddy named James, and he wore a Santa Claus costume and just stood in the middle of them, and it was like
make Christmas great again.
Yeah, make Christmas great again. It was just so funny, and
he
of
was
course,
just trolling them.
Everybody, and they were doing it on the main intersection up there by the mall, and so everybody could see them. And there was only like 15 people out there,
of
but
course.
That brings up this. It's time for our next segment. Left Turn It Crazy.
Left Turn Ahead. Crazy.
All right, so for this segment, here it is again, El Said on Jesse Waters.
Changes for minors. Do you support that?
Look, I remember having great conversations with my conservative friends about right-to-try legislation. The idea that the government shouldn't tell.
You're comparing this
to
right to try. That's his first.
I remember great conversations.
I'm sorry. This is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous on right to try legislation, trying to get around trying to save your life. Okay, I want the right to try to try experimental drugs that may save my terminal condition. It's not the same thing as ending your child's future from being able to have kids of their own before their frontal lobes are developed, or before it doesn't even matter. I mean, I think the whole thing should be banned, whether you're a minor or whether you're legal. It doesn't matter to me. But if we can't say that, hey, this is not health care, and we are not going to hold this up and say, you know what, banning things is good sometimes. The government's going to hold this up as evil. We're going to say it's child abuse because it is. He's comparing it to right to try legislation. That is not an argument at all. I mean, it is patently, hilariously bad.
What he's talking about there is people that are allowed to do things that are outside of maybe the mainstream, right? He's trying
government regulations,
correct.
Of medicine.
And he's totally missing the mark, because we're not talking about someone who, again, and that is about to die, and they're like, well, I don't have any other options.
Yeah.
I'm only, 41 years old. I would like to live a little longer for my kids, maybe. And so they're like, hey, yeah, give it a shot. Like, try this experimental medication. Totally different than my 3-year-old thinks they're a girl. I think we're going to chop off body parts. Seriously? That's seriously what this man is saying. And he's saying that the parent and the doctor should be allowed to make that decision. Okay. Right. Then, like, we cannot be involved in their medical decisions. We cannot be involved as a society in what happens to children.
It is not medicine.
Yeah.
It's not medicine.
And they try to say, but it's a bridge too far when I say, okay, so you're saying parents can parent however they want, and we should not be involved whatsoever. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I have 3 adopted children for a reason. Their parents proved what they were capable of and lost the rights to their children, and the state stepped in to protect those children. Now, that stuff can go massively too far, as we've seen it, but I don't think that we would disagree that a drug addict,
correct,
mom or dad or whatever that cannot get their life straight, that's their kid is walking across broken glass, in a house and it just being neglected totally. We're not. The state should have a say in that, because it's just, as a normal society, we have to have a say in that. You're permanently altering children because of your sick and twisted ideology. How the hell could you compare that to someone terminally ill that is trying some experimental medication? It's so polar opposite, but he thought he had something there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And his leftist lunatics think he has something too. They're watching this clip and they're like, yes. Well, and they're also saying, I want my foreskin back.
Well, yeah, they love to do that because, they love to try to, make the left look like, or the right look like hypocrites. Oh, see, we've got you. But it's such a weak argument.
Well, and it's the same crap with the whole my body, my choice versus
right, exactly.
Don't take the vaccine. Yeah, 2 totally different things, man.
All right, here he comes back with more on this.
Tell you what kind of health care you should have. I just think the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. And if you're a minor,
you want to try on kids?
Now, if you disagree with that, if you disagree that health care decisions need to be made by a doctor and their parents and a patient, then we think we agree to disagree. But, you want...
Unfortunately, these doctors are mad scientists. They are Dr. Frankensteins. They're taking massive amounts of money in order to do this.
One of 2 reasons, and maybe a combination of both. Either that doctor has a sick ideology as well, and they've gone down that rabbit hole, or they only care about the money.
Right.
And it could be a combination of both, but neither one of those should be deciding factors for health care.
Notice how doctors are now clergy to the left. Like, doctors are basically given the level of...
Trust your doctor.
It's infallibility.
Yeah.
They're the pagan priests, the priests of the high places. Doctors now function... to basically excuse anything. We can excuse any wicked behavior as long as a doctor is there with his credentials saying, this is okay, this is my medical opinion. If it's about medicine, then it's science, and we can do every wicked, evil thing under the sun.
I want to put government inside
So, Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
Do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but that's a
Jesse,
personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
Is circumcision's different than castration?
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff.
Abdul.
That is sick stuff.
Did you guys see the investigative reporter that found out about some of his donors and has started investigating and pulling some rocks on some stuff?
I have not.
So this guy goes out to this lady's trailer park out somewhere in very rural Michigan, outside of Dearborn. I can't remember exactly where, but he's like, ma'am, I've got 900 pages of documentation here of your contributions to his campaign.
Yeah.
Did you give $150,000 to his campaign? And this poor little old lady hobbles out of this trailer, and she's like, no, I can't even afford my knee surgery that I need. I definitely didn't give him $150,000. So that was one example, and this guy's going pretty viral with some of his investigative reporting that he's doing on some of that guy's donors right there. So watch for more news to come, because this guy had all the paperwork right there in front of him. He's like, ma'am, I mean, I didn't even have enough paper to print out all of the documentation for all of your donations to his campaign, but you're one of his silent donors, just so you know. And you've donated, according to his campaign, you've donated $150,000 over the last year.
Right, and we know what's happening.
That was real.
We're getting these donations from foreign countries, or even, the
there it is, Charlie Lee Duff. That's it.
Who is it now?
Charlie Lee Duff.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting these donations from foreign countries, or just these liberal lunatics here in the United States that are they're taking all these large sums of money, and they're putting them in the names of these other people, because they want to make it look like, oh, look at this, this is a grassroots effort here, and because they're wanting to hide where that money is coming from.
Yeah.
So you know something nefarious is going on there. But this guy's a scam artist, and he's a smooth talker, but he's a scam artist. And I'm sitting here looking at him, I'm like, why would anybody believe anything this man is saying? Heck, he's already on the defensive. Jesse Waters goes, "You're a doctor, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, you don't believe me. You can go ahead and ask Columbia," and all that stuff. Like, that's not what he was getting at.
We're literally what we were just saying is,
yeah,
they are very wicked doctors that are acting as some sort of like authority figure mechanism that are unquestionable, unassailable, and yet doctors do bad things every day.
Correct. He's saying, how dare you not know that this is ridiculous and evil? You're a doctor, right? How dare you not know that this is evil? And he just doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to talk about that stuff because he's trying to deflect. I remember the right to try. I mean, everything is a deflection with them. They can't just answer questions.
Right.
They can't just answer questions. It's the same crap that we saw with Fauci when he was answering questions standing there. Like, no one will give a direct answer to anything, because then they know that their lunacy is on open display for everyone. How dare you? How dare you? I mean, there are some people that say, and a proud member of the circumcision club here, I am circumcised, and I will not be protesting for my foreskin back. But there are some people that will talk about how, hey, listen, there are some negatives about not being circumcised. Like, I don't know all of this stuff, but more prone to skin infections, more prone to, difficulty cleaning and all that stuff. I don't know, there's no sense in getting into all of this stuff. But somebody might say, no, that's actually a medical decision, as well as its religious roots that it comes from. And, I was the first and only boy, and my mom, she was young, she was a teenager when I was born. She's like, no, I'm not going to get him circumcised. I was like, why? I don't want to go through all of that, like doctoring it for the next couple of days and all that stuff. And apparently my Aunt Wanda, our good friend Wanda, I haven't seen her in the chat today. But anyway, my Aunt Wanda said, no, you better do that. She had 2 boys that were older than me, and she had gotten them both circumcised. And she's like, it's not that bad, just do it. And I'm thankful for my Aunt Wanda, God rest her soul. I'm thankful for her, because circumcision is not the same. I'm really going off on my personal life here, but I'm just saying,
insane.
It's just ridiculous here.
It's such a desperate ploy to compare something that is not really life-altering versus something that is permanent and life-altering in terms of you will not be able to have kids, and it's not even the same thing.
And I guarantee you the money laundering that's happening with this funneling of these illegal donations, I can tell you one thing. The people sending that money do not believe this trans ideology BS. They do not believe that this should be happening. The only reason they're doing it is because that is the gateway. That is the party that allows us to infiltrate the United States.
Yes.
That is the party that allows us to work ourselves into this government. The Republicans aren't going to allow it.
That is a perfect segue.
Nearly to the level that the Democrats
here is another clip of Abdul on Jesse, and he compares banning Sharia law to white supremacy, and says that Sharia law is just like canon law or laws based on Christianity. Listen to this.
You said getting rid of Sharia law was white supremacy. Let's roll the tape. Go.
I don't have to tell you that the same exact forces that drove native peoples from their land 2 centuries ago, destroyed Black Wall Street a century ago, bombed a building decades ago, and tried to ban Sharia law not a decade ago, that those forces are alive and well today.
So getting rid of Sharia law is white supremacy. Can you explain that one?
Do you know what canon law is? Jesse, I assume you're Christian, right?
Yeah, tell me.
All right, so canon law is the name for Christian law. I don't begrudge you your right to practice your faith as you choose. I don't know why the idea that I could practice my faith as I choose is a problem. Nobody is trying to push.
All right, stop right there. Okay.
Jeez.
He's giving away the farm.
Yep.
Because what he's saying is, I've got to have this, that this is a total theocracy. He is literally saying, civilizationally speaking, my religion is not just something that I do in my home. It is not just something that I do in a mosque. It is something that encompasses all of life. It is something that encompasses my my civic life, my political life. That's what Sharia is, okay? And so he's essentially saying what we all know, that this is a civilizational clash, and the two are incompatible. Now, he's not saying they're incompatible. He's being the subversive. Well, you get to have your Christian laws, and I get to have mine. And by the way, we should be perfectly comfortable admitting that, yes, America's laws are based on Christianity, even the derivative ones that we have today. We've got some wicked laws out there, but as we've talked about on this program, we had a pan-Protestant nation that was perfectly comfortable with blasphemy laws, was perfectly comfortable with anti-sodomy laws. They did not want a church, a national church. They did not want a national church because they just broke away from one, but they were comfortable with states having the right to have state churches and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
They were okay with that. So that is our civilization. It is very much based still, really, the entire way that we set up our government. I'm speaking as a Presbyterian, is based on a Presbyterian form of government where you have checks and balances and powers and representatives that represent the body that go up. It's very similar to Moses in the desert. When Moses doesn't know what to do, all of these people are coming to him with problems, and his father-in-law Jethro says, "Hey, get together a bunch of men and segment them off and say, put one guy in charge of these people, and then you have another council that's in charge of a larger group." You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It literally is. Our government is mirrored after that, and also after Acts chapter 15 and the Council of Jerusalem. It is from that you got a lot of certain church polity, and it's from that informed how to structure our Constitution and our three branches of government with checks and balances. It's Christian. It is explicitly Christian. And we need to be comfortable saying that, first off, because if we're not comfortable saying that, we're going to lose this battle against the subversive elements of political Islam. And that's what Saeed is talking about here. I'll let you guys respond, and then we can get to the rest of it.
Well, and I also think that, let's just take a look at the First Amendment. I mean, there's a great school of thought that, a lot of people say establishment of the religion and thereof, respecting no establishment of religion and thereof, like that the government is not supposed to take any sort of role in religion whatsoever. And I just don't truly believe that was the original intent, as Charlie Kirk and you would even say, too, that 11 of the 13 original colonies, those states required some sort of
belief,
affirmational belief to Christ in some form there. And so, obviously there's different denominations of it and all of that, but in different sections of the country. And so to say that we weren't built on Christian values, that we're not a Christian country, is just completely false. But all I believe that the government was trying to say there, the founding fathers, what I believe that they were trying to say is, we're not going to make you be a Christian here in the United States. We're not going to, the government is not going to force you to go to church on Sunday, to read your Bible. That's not what our job is. We're not going, but we're also not going to tell you that we can't. Somehow that completely gets bastardized and said, no person who works for the government can pray. A football coach can't lead a prayer at the 50-yard line with his team because he's technically a state employee. Now that is completely going against what I think the founding fathers were referring to when they were talking about freedom of religion. Let's translate that to what Sharia law says, to the Muslim faith. what that says. Christians don't kill Muslims. We're not killing Muslims for their faith. We are going to try to tamp it down here in the United States because, as I previously and you previously just said, we're a Christian nation. Okay, so that's what our fundamentals are built on. But what their ideology says is those infidels who will not follow us shall be put to death. They can kill us for being Christians. So when we try to talk about how these two ideologies are not intertwined, how they cannot coexist, it's because one of the ideologies wants to kill us for our ideology. We just don't want your ideology to be in control of the rest of us. All right? That's our difference. And you want to sit here and equate us and say that you are the same? You want to sit here and say, you would kill me if I was in your country as a white Christian man. There are many places in the Middle East that I would be shot and beheaded on sight. Name the Christian nation where a Muslim could be beheaded and shot on sight when just for existing because of their Christian or from their Muslim Islamic faith, okay, by Christians. It doesn't exist. Was there a time in history, let's be honest, there were wars fought over Christianity and all of that stuff, but you're talking about an idea where it's baked into this faith.
Yeah, in the Crusades, I think that's probably what you're referring to. The Crusades happened after a long train of abuses and incursions and disruption of commerce and invasions, and finally the Christians said, okay, I think we need to go to war. And, there's people now that try to rehabilitate the Crusades because, we're raised to say, oh, that was terrible. And actually, it's a lot more gray, by the way. There were bad things that happened during the Crusades. Don't misunderstand me. But if you actually look at all of the Muslim incursions that took place versus the small number of Crusade battles versus the Muslim battles that came previously, the Crusades were actually quite predictable and reasonable if you put yourself in that context that long ago. So to your point that I think that's an excellent point you made about, there's no Christian country right now that does that to Muslims. But I do think the Muslims know that there is a breaking point when it comes to, when it comes to like when will a society say enough is enough and end, let's say, end Muslim immigration or deport Muslims or whatever. And they know that we are a very well-armed country, by the way. They know that. The only way to achieve what they're trying to achieve is through political Islam, is through immigration and through slowly changing the different localities, the different cities' laws and everything else. That's why that black pastor the other day stood up at Dearborn, Michigan and was like, hey, we better denounce this stuff. Sharia law has come to rule over us. Yeah. Eric, do you have anything?
No, that Rob's point was spot on.
Yeah, right. I know we're going to watch
the of church and state doesn't it gets bastardized and really, really falsified, or as far as it's the way it's supposed to be.
Just go ahead, comments.
Yeah, I know we've got a few. We're going to try to finish that video as well, but a few of the comments. Eileen Jimenez, thanks, Paul, for explaining history. Paul is ridiculously smart on all of this stuff, and so
you are too kind. I'm actually quite stupid. Actually.
You're very learned, so I'll say that. So, but yeah, and so people are like, "Hey, put me down for the Crusades 2.0, Redneck 1760." So put me down for that. But yeah, we loving all the comments, but. Anyway, it's just ridiculous because it's the exact same mentality of trans acceptance. It's the exact same mentality of illegal immigration acceptance. It is how dare you? What we're just trying to exist. Mm-hmm. How dare you? And this is what this guy, and he knows he's spewing lies. He sits there and knows
that's
the
true.
Crap coming out of his mouth is BS.
All right,
he knows it.
Let's pick it back up. We're going to finish the rest of this.
Which is why he tries to deflect.
Yes.
I don't know why the idea that I could practice my faith as I choose is a problem. Nobody is trying to push Sharia law on anyone else, just like I hope nobody is trying to push canon law on anybody else, because we live in America where you should have the freedom of your religion. So the idea idea that you have somebody like Tommy Tuberville, right, who, barely was good at coaching football, is out here trying to ban Sharia.
Here he goes.
That's just a jab.
That's just a ridiculous
That's just a jab.
Stupid
And that's
digs.
objectively not true. Tommy
was
Tuberville was a great football coach. And matter of fact, got his start here. Did you know that?
He's from Arkansas.
One of his first jobs was right here in Northeast Arkansas at A-State.
And he, he took Auburn to an undefeated season. They should have been in the playoff that year because they were, really. But that was back when only 2 teams would make it.
Sorry, we're going to get sidetracked on sports ball, but
that's what he wants.
That's what he wants. Yeah.
Yep.
Sharia law when there's less than 1% of the Muslim community in America, as if somehow Muslims are out here trying to push Sharia law. That seems to me to be deliberately targeting the Muslim community because they're different. And I'm just saying that, I have no issue with people practicing their faith. In fact, I would never want somebody to push their faith on me, and I would never want to push my faith on somebody else.
Good, because no one wants you to get rid of your religion.
And so the idea,
no one wants that.
So, but when people start,
see, that's objectively not true. I mean, that may be what Jesse Waters believes. Nobody wants you to get rid of your religion. So this is just an example, I think, of respectfully Fox News not understanding what the battle is, right? You think about it. Like, that is a presupposition that is actually not the case. What we are seeing is the takeover of our society here through immigration.
Yeah.
There's 3,000 mosques in America now.
And mosques
and
are
these
being
people
proposed.
are becoming more and more bold about their
this is about, hey, if you want to practice your religion, maybe you shouldn't do it in America because it's not compatible with our country. And you are literally, there are parts of America that look like we were conquered and lost a war, ladies and gentlemen. That's what our country looks like. So Jesse Waters here, this is the mid 2000s talking point of religious pluralism is going to be perfectly fine. Immigration pluralism, multiculturalism is okay because we're a melting pot. We have the results of that thinking, and it is a America that is unrecognizable. It is not safe for us, and along with that, you have an increasingly anti-white bias. That you can see the results of, the foreshadowing of what's coming if you just go look at South Africa and go look at Europe, go look at the UK, go look at Ireland. Like, we know what's coming. We know what the plan is for this demographic subversion of our country.
Well, and he talks too about the fact that it's less than 1%. There's many estimates here. I just looked it up that it's 1.3%. Roughly 4.4 million people here in the United States are Muslims. And there have been several studies that have, it's rough estimates here, but it's but multiple studies have come back with that 25% number. That 25% of all Muslims are Islamic radicalized and believe, in Sharia law and all of the spreading of Islam even if it means killing people, like that's a quarter of the world's population that believe that. Well, let's just say if there's 4.4 million here, that means we have over 1 million people in this country who are radicalized. Okay, how many 9/11 terrorists were there? 20. Well, what was it? 22, somewhere around in there. 23. That damage was done by only a handful of people. So imagine what 1 million could do.
All right, more on this.
When people preemptively go out there and start preemptively passing laws to ban something that's not happening, what you're trying to do is target a very small community because they're different. And this operates. I mean, look, I'm just going to say, there's statistical evidence that the president and the vice president
Michigan
like
is
to
kind of
target
scary.
Me simply
people
as a
don't
function
go
of my
for
faith.
that. It's like men
Nobody's
aren't
trying to
equal
push it on
from
anybody,
women.
but
It's like
I just
physical
think you
punishments.
like to say the word. Look, Jesse, look,
people don't
you
like
to
that
say
in
the
Michigan.
word
I'm just saying,
because it
I don't
seems
think
really,
that's a good
really foreign
position.
and scary. Nobody's pushing it. No, but Jesse, nobody's pushing it. You know what the issue is in America, in Michigan?
What?
The issue that people are worried about is not that somehow somebody's going to come and push Sharia law on them. The issue in Michigan is people are worried about how they're going to afford their gas. The issue in Michigan is, how am I going to see a doctor when I get sick? How am I going to keep my job? You're out here, honestly, you guys love to play this culture war game where you use these words that sound really foreign to avoid actually having to talk about the issues that everyday people...
You use these words that sound foreign. Yeah, Sharia law is not a foreign word. Newsflash. Who's pushing Sharia law? Muslims. The more Muslims you have, the more people you have pushing Sharia law. The more Muslims you have, the more they vote. The more they elect Muslim politicians that push Sharia law. This is not complicated. Conversely, the more Christians you have, the more Christian legislators you have. And if you had Christian legislators that were worth their salt, they would recognize that this religious neutrality is the death of us, and they need to be opening their Bibles and saying, what principles do we need to use from this Bible and craft our laws in a just way that punishes the wicked and rewards good, that protects the innocent and punishes the guilty. Newsflash, that's what we need, and we need our government to do that, and that is fundamentally, by the way, those are what Christian laws are. So
I'm just saying, places like Dearborn, Michigan, with a high concentration of Muslims, a high concentration of the number of mosques that are there, you're getting the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day or whatever it is, where they stop where they are. These idiots are stopping in the middle of the street praying because they the bell went off there, or the horn went off that said we've got to turn toward Mecca, got to know where it's at. Have you seen some of the ridiculousness of how a house has to be built, with your toilet facing a certain way because it's got to face Mecca or it's not supposed to? I don't know.
No, Andy Cyrus told us that the toilets have to be a certain way, which caused me to ask, wait a second, so what about sitting down versus standing to pee? And she said, she grew up in Iran and got to America, then became a Christian.
They sit down.
They sit down.
Men sit down to pee.
Yeah. Every time.
Yes. And so so that's just the way it is. And there's just these oddities, and you're just like, okay, well, that's just, hey, that's how you want your house built and all of that. Well, now they're doing entire subdivisions here in the state of Arkansas that are Mecca compliant, and all of that. And you're just like, okay, well, it's like, hey, they're building a subdivision any way they want to do. They can live their life however they want to do it.
But similar to the Mexican drug cartels in Freedom County, Texas, getting their whole subdivisions. It's an invasion.
It's a snowball.
On all fronts.
It's a snowball. And they're getting on these city councils, and they're running for mayors, even a mayor of New York City, and they're winning, and now they're trying to get in the U.S. Senate. There's an infiltration happening, and you are naive if you don't think that the ultimate goal is the spreading of their faith.
Amen.
It is absolutely not because they want little boys and girls to get surgeries, transgender surgeries. That's not what their goal is. They're just using it as their in because the Democrats are weak, feckless, and they have absolutely no protective feelings toward children. They prove that in every one of their policies. They didn't care about kids during COVID. They kept them out of school. They don't care about kids. They absolutely believe in abortion up to the moment of birth, most of them. They don't care about kids because they say a 3-year-old can change their gender and they'll just be a life-altering decision, but the same morons won't let their 12-year-old get a tattoo because that is a permanent decision. But they'll say, well, just blocking your puberty is not a permanent decision. The hell it's not. You can't go back in time. Liberals, I saw this video and it was an interview, and they had these little clips, and they were asking conservative moms and liberal moms, and they were asking them, would you kill for your children? Not kill your children. That's another reason these liberal lunatics are losing their mind. Not that I have any idea that Lindsey Clancy was a liberal, but the people that are supporting her sure as hell are.
Yeah, they are. Matter of fact, go ahead.
And so what we're seeing here is with these liberal women that proving that they have no care for kids, and they interviewed conservative moms and Democrat moms, and what was eye-opening, but it really shouldn't have been a surprise, is that one question. It was a series of questions, but one of them was, would you kill for your children? Every conservative mama bear said, hell yeah. If my child was in danger, you better watch out. I will. If an intruder comes in this house, I'm not going to say, just don't hurt us. No. That mama bear is attacking. You do. A mama bear trying to protect her children, that's like a cat backed into a corner, and you don't want any of that if she's a conservative and truly loves her children versus these Democrats. almost every one of them said, "Oh no, I don't think I could kill anybody," or they'd be like, "I don't know." Every one of those conservative moms. Yep. Hell yeah. You need me to kill somebody right now that's trying to harm my children? I'll do it.
Unfortunately, the leftists are harming their own kids, as we talked about with Lindsay Clancy. This is a terrible story from Revolver Copycat, ? Wife's chilling message to the father of her children as she slits their throats. There's something really scary happening around the Lindsay Clancy case, and it goes way beyond whatever verdict eventually comes out of that Massachusetts courtroom. Clancy admitted to strangling her 3 young children to death with a gigantic exercise rubber band. Her defense claims severe mental illness, including postpartum psychosis. They say it left her unable to understand the wrongfulness of what she was doing, even though she waited until her husband was gone to slaughter her children. Prosecutors say she knew exactly what she was doing. The jury will decide whether she was criminally responsible. That's the case in court. What's happening online has become something even scarier. A very loud and very bizarre corner of the internet has turned Clancy into a symbol for female suffering. Many women, mostly left-wing, have decided that the case represents everything they resent about motherhood, marriage, expectations, medicine, men, and society. And the TikTok videos are the creepiest part. Mothers are holding their babies, as we've talked about, in front of cameras and ring lights, sobbing about Lindsay and saying things like, "Same Lindsay." These videos have a lot of people really rattled. Men are watching it, and so are plenty of sane women and mothers, and they're absolutely horrified and scared. And their fear isn't coming from some refusal to understand mental illness or postpartum issues. It's coming from the spectacle of thousands of strangers watching a woman accused of murdering all 3 of her children and somehow finding a version of themselves in her. Sadly, family annihilation is nothing new, and men have committed some of the most infamous cases. Who can forget this loser? He stuffed...
Chris, what was it? Chris Watts was his name or something?
Yeah, stuffed his wife and kids into
a barrel, try to dissolve their bodies
also,
or something.
He could try to run off with his mistress.
Yeah. I mean, disgusting.
But here's this one. This is the latest from CBS Austin. A mother allegedly murdered 2 of her young children by slitting their throats and attempting to kill another after telling their father, "Say goodbye to your kids." According to an affidavit obtained by Valley News Live, officers responded to a residence on the afternoon of August 6th regarding a report of a mother who had stabbed her children. First responders arrived to find the 22-year-old Kaylee Earhart holding a knife to her own throat in the home. Earhart, who was covered in blood, reportedly dropped the knife and told officers to kill her. After detaining the woman, officers found 3 young children who were lying unresponsive on the floor in a nearby bedroom. The children were all suffering from wounds to their necks. Authorities say a 5-month-old, a 3-year-old succumbed to their injuries and died, but the 1-year-old survived. So the question is, again, this was back on August, the beginning of August, kind of before this whole Lindsay Clancy sympathy started.
The Lindsay Clancy,
it's been going on
that
for
murder.
a while.
She murdered her children in 2023.
Right, but
people have been talking about it.
Yeah.
It just hadn't gone on trial yet.
Was this a copycat? Is a great question.
Certainly the same mentality. I don't know that it was what you would call it a copycat, but it's the same mentality of, I'm going to do something evil, and unfortunately, a lot of times what they're doing, there was a guy that shot all of his, I guess it was 3 children in the house, and then burnt and then set it on fire. Shot himself and then set, or I guess
every man condemns that.
Yeah,
there are no
that was
men.
my point. Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there are no men out there who are like, "Same, Chris. Same."
That's
I've
right.
thought about
posting videos of us crying,
killing my whole family and stuffing them in water towers so I can run off with my mistress. What are you talking about? That doesn't exist with men. Why does it exist with women? Which is why Sean Strickland is saying, saying what. I mean, I haven't thought about Salem witch trials, but he's saying Lindsay Clancy support makes me realize maybe the Salem witch trials weren't such a bad thing. The fact that fat, ugly female dogs in pink shirts are allowed to vote is insanity. Repeal the 19th Amendment. Now, obviously, a lot of it is kind of funny to be that blunt about it. But the whole repeal the 19th Amendment thing, the fact that these women are so brainwashed to justify child murder and sympathize with it, and the fact that they also go vote does make me want to repeal the 19th Amendment. And I think I think there are women out there that would want to repeal the 19th Amendment based on the fact the members of their own sex are so crazy.
The only thing that I would I don't know that I'm saying the 19th Amendment because, I mean, we've got a phenomenal group of ladies in our...
Yes, there's plenty of conservative women out there that are totally fine. I'm saying this is insane that there's so many leftist...
I'd be more in favor, the left was in favor of forced vaccinations. I'd be in favor of some forced crazy pill injections for these Democrats just to see if that helps.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe the insanity. And somebody was even talking about the Chris Watts thing here in our comments, and it's passed, so I forgot who mentioned it. But yeah, all the crazy women trying to marry him, sending him love letters. He murdered his wife and children, and you're sending him love letters?
I didn't know about that.
This happens all the time.
Dude,
really?
There's so many people.
There's a condition. There's literally a mental illness. There's a name for it for these ladies that get into these relationships with serial killers.
They fall in love with them.
Start sending them money and all these types of things. It is wacky.
So maybe in order to vote, you need to
insane.
Not be on any antipsychotic medication. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I was reading about this. There was an article about a man that murdered his wife and called the police. Sat on the front porch, waited for the police. Police come and arrest him. He spends quite a few years in prison. His pastor kept just trying to get him out. All these women were writing him love letters, and they were trying to get him out and got him out. He got remarried and killed his second wife. Called the police, sat on the front porch and waited. But the problem was he didn't just kill his second wife. He killed her 2 kids that weren't his kids. So do you think I'm sitting here trying to celebrate this man? No, but there's going to be even more people probably sending that man love letters to prison.
Yeah. So for these
to try to be the third wife.
Hybristophilia. And it's, it's literally a diagnosis.
Okay.
It's the Bonnie and Clyde syndrome.
Hybristophilia. I didn't know that. All right, so here's the deal. Out of all the men that snap and do this to their kids, if the government came to any one of us, now, I can't speak for you guys, but if the government came to me and was like, hey, this is the guy that did it. He's been tried, convicted. We're giving him the death penalty. We need somebody to be on the firing squad. Would you do it?
Yes.
And the answer is, yeah, I would. If they needed it, I would do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's plenty of men. Yet, are there any women that would volunteer to do that for?
Not liberal women.
Yeah,
they'd want to marry him.
And not that women should do that, but here's the whole idea is, okay, is she crazy?
Lunatics. Was
she crazy or was she psychotic? What is it? Well, so Lindsay Clancy in the trial, we've got some clips from the trial where this is from the trial, correct?
Yeah, this clip is started. So I guess this started going rounds yesterday.
Okay,
and this is a psychologist that examined her. Was just So this is hands on. This is not just a person who.
The psychiatrist or psychologist, one or the other.
Yeah,
we know
one of those is this guy.
All right, and this is what he said.
The way she described this as happening, she heard a voice that she'd never heard before, experienced an hallucination. She's never experienced it since. She only experienced it for the 18 minutes that it took to kill the children. To put it mildly, that would be a very, very unusual pattern or manifestation of how this kind of thing comes about. I've been doing this kind of evaluation for many, many years, and I'm always very careful when someone tells me that they experience the symptom only during the course of committing an offense.
Why is that, doctor? Why are you careful when someone tells you that they only experience this voice during a criminal offense?
Well, because it provides a convenient way of lessening your own culpability. There was some discussion of whether this was postpartum. She was about 8 months away from having given birth to Callan, her youngest child. Maybe 1 month after birth or 2 months after birth or something like that. But the farther away you get time-wise from the birth, the less likely it is to be postpartum. Given the time, it was less likely, I thought, to be postpartum. She said, the voice said, this is your last chance. You have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself. And it just kept repeating that for about 18 minutes, or the duration of the time it took to do this. When she was in the hospital, after this happened, she said that the voice had said other things. The children will suffer without you, or you have to take the kids with you. There is some research that's been conducted on malingered hallucinations, which are accounts of hallucinations that are exaggerated or fabricated. Command hallucinations are often accompanied by a related delusion. Ms. Clancy did not report any accompanied delusions. Genuine psychotic hallucinations are more often intermittent and constant. Ms. Clancy, in this instance, reported that the voice was constant for 18 to 20 minutes and then it stopped. It had not been experienced before, and it has not been experienced since. His first question was, what did you do? And her response was, I tried to kill myself. If she had actually experienced this command hallucination, she might have said something like, I did what I had to do. I did what the voice said. So when she regained consciousness that night in the hospital, one of the things she said is that she wasn't able to remember what happened. She was informed of it, but if this had been a genuine memory loss, then human memory is funny. When you're trying to remember something that actually happened, it would have been hard to understand how she would recover that memory accurately, including the particular memory, the command auditory hallucination when it said. The way she...
Wow. So he said a lot there. But, you know, obviously the big highlights is that she said that she only experienced this voice telling her to kill her children. It's time for you to kill yourself. Here's your chance to kill your children and then kill yourself. That she only experienced that during the 18 minutes where she committed this horrific crime. And what he is saying is that is, I mean, he's not speaking in absolutes, but what he's saying is that's BS. This doesn't happen. You don't just start hearing voices at that moment. Act on it right then, and then just let it be, and you never hear that voice again. No, I think she had not worked out that detail in her mind, because in her mind she was going to be dead. She was going to,
yes, I think that's logical. Yeah.
She's trying to come up with this story after the fact and talk about all of this stuff. And listen, we all three of us got voices in our head. It's just our subconscious. It's God. Hopefully, all this stuff. We've got these voices in our head that it's just us talking to ourselves. It's our brain, one side of the brain talking to the other side of the brain. That's literally it. But she's saying she heard a deep male voice that was commanding, and it was and she had never heard it before, and she never heard it after that. And he is saying, total BS. That's just not how it works. And everybody's going around with this and just saying, hey, this is the nail in her coffin.
Yeah. And
it reinforces your point, too, yesterday about this was her absolutely crazy, but not insane.
Yeah, which there is a huge difference.
100% crazy. Like, we can all agree on that she's absolutely crazy. But she's not clinically insane.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think she wanted to kill herself. She wanted to take her children with her. I don't know if it's an attempt to hurt her husband, because sometimes they do that. It's usually the man who's trying to hurt the wife or something like that. But even the wife, as we just saw, she slit the throats of her 3 children. And what did she say right to her husband?
Yeah.
Say goodbye to your children.
Yeah.
It was pain.
You know, what we're debating also is
she
kind
wanted
of
to inflict it.
Because, Massachusetts doesn't have a death penalty as far as I know. So
Satan is real.
Yeah, he is, and we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program. We're going to send it off to Jeremy Harrell, live from America, which starts momentarily. I want to remind everybody that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. Check them out. Scan the QR code. Donate. Get red light therapy to veterans who need it. But the VA will not cover it, and we will see you guys tomorrow.